It was not an awful game for Yankees. They needed it.
Oh, no, listen. You should be happy you won, and the Yankees won a baseball game, and congratulations, and Carlos Rodon pitched reasonably well.
That's actually the biggest takeaway from it, is that Carlos Rodon, and what we identified as his most important start of this season, went out and did exactly what he needed to do.
No doubt.
And for a second, I thought he was hurt. In the second inning, he was limping around on the mound, and Higgy came out, gave him a little breather.
Yep.
Checked the pitch calm to give him an extra time. Luckily, he only had to throw one more pitch. He went right into the dugout, or into the clubhouse in the dugout. But he came back out and he was fine.
Yeah, Tiki was bragging. He's done. I told you he's got a knee issue. Look at the bullpen. There's movement in the bullpen. Meanwhile, the one pitch he threw, to your point, was hit 110 miles an hour off the bat of Pete Alonso. It just happened to go right at IKF.
Yes, but he had to get out of the inning. He couldn't have labored in that inning. He got out of it. By the way, he finished off with a fantastic start, 5 2/3. He comes out at the end of the sixth. And guess what?
What?
He didn't get booed.
No, he got cheered.
He got cheered.
My guy to my left, Sean Morash, even was clapping for him. He stood up and started cheering for him.
Did you boo at all, Sean Morash?
I booed as he was announced in lineups, which, by the way, he got booed. He
got
booed.
Yeah,
all that being said, but I actually couldn't boo or cheer him because you guys forgot that was the time I was in the bathroom when he got taken out of the game.
Kiss my fat ass!
Well, no, if we're being fair about this, when the lineups were announced, there was only one guy in the seats, and that was me. Mm-hmm. Okay, you guy eating, Sean eating.
I wasn't eating. I was having a beer, but I wasn't eating. I was just hanging.
And we were walking to the seats when the lineups got announced.
So did you get a chance to actually boo him?
Yeah, I booed, and that's when I started cracking up because I turned around, I'm like, oh my God, people are actually booing him.
No, other people did boo him.
Yeah.
You're right about that. And he was fine, and the Yankees won the game, and yippity-doo, I'm not taking anything away from the win. The game absolutely sucked, all right? The offense was Look how the Yankees scored their runs. Mm-hmm. Mark Vientos on a ground ball to third's like, I can't get him at home. I don't know if I'll get him at third. Let me throw to second. 080 safe. You had the Jeff McNeil sliding catch on the sac fly. You did have an Anthony Volpe hit. It was a very ugly baseball game, but, I ate a lot of shrimp and crabs.
It was exactly what you would expect for two teams that are struggling right now. Split a 2-game series.
Did you enjoy the experience of sitting next to my scorebook?
I did enjoy sitting next to your scorebook, even though half the time I didn't know what the hell you were doing. Because the way you write, you had to explain. You literally had to explain it to me. What is the angle down? Looked like a greater than sign. What does that even mean? And sometimes there's a stick pointing up from the top of it. I'm like, what does this mean? And then when you explained it to me, it made sense. He was on second base, so he got to first, and he got to second.
I also do need to apologize to you and to Sean and to Loogie and everybody that was there. When the game ended, and even before the game, we were eating in this Legend Suite, and at about 6:35, I said, listen, fellas, I got to go. I want to sit down. I want to get my book ready. I want to kind of bring in Yankee Stadium into my nose, into my ears. I'm out. And I left you guys.
Yes, you did.
And I felt sort of guilty about that, but not really.
You should have.
Then when the game ends, and listen, I respect that you're a megastar. I do. I love it.
I'm just a guy. People like me because I'm a guy.
Tiki, you got a roll call in the 5th inning.
That's true.
Loogie, he got a roll call.
It was unbelievable.
And I didn't realize it. I was just not paying attention.
Oh, you didn't realize it?
No, I did. I swear I didn't hear.
Here's what happened.
And Sean goes, hey, man, they're calling your name. And I was like, what? Oh.
I'd say a handful, more than a handful of guys are just chanting, Tiki Barber. It took them 5.5 seconds to turn around and wave.
Well, because Sean said that they were doing it. I didn't hear it at the
Less than
first
5
time.
seconds, about 2 seconds.
Hey, look, I hooked you guys up. So we go down to the Legends Club. You guys pieced out on me. Thank you, Loogie, for waiting for me from Hard Rock. I'm saying goodbye to Christos, who took care of us, gave you the biggest fruity drink I've ever seen.
It was great. I loved it, Christos.
And so we're trying to get into the stadium. Like, all right, where's the Legends entrance? I know how to get it from the. I just got to go walk all the way down there. So we walk down there. We find you guys. You guys have got plates already. We were 10 minutes behind you, and you already got plates. I'm like,
Zero guy code.
Did you guys find a seat? Did you sit down?
No.
Did you find somewhere for us to hang out?
No.
Or are we just going to stand around with our plates like we're at a barbecue in Sean's backyard?
That was the plan.
Yeah, right?
What's the plan?
And so I go up and I say hello to one of the waiters. He's like, oh, Tiki, how you doing? Good to meet you. I'm a big fan. I'm like, dude, you got any seats? Like, can we sit anywhere? Dude? He's like, no, I got you. We'll take care of you right here. And we sit down, and he gives us Ruby, our waitress, who was amazing. I sit down. What do you guys want? You guys are drinking diet soda, water. Like, dude, give me a beer. Give me the IPA. Get an IPA. It's cool. So we're sitting there. We're chilling. I go get my sushi. Go get a fruit cup. I feel good about what I'm doing. Sean's stuffing his face like he hasn't eaten in 16 days.
I had everything.
Loogie's doing the same. I don't know where he put it, but we're sitting there eating, enjoying, having conversation, and all of a sudden, Evan, peace. I'm out. I'm out.
Yeah.
See y'all. And so Ruby comes back. And she's like, oh, she's picking up his nap, picking up your napkin, Evan. She's folding. I'm like, you can take all his stuff. He's not coming back. And she's like, huh? What do you mean? And so Sean goes, yeah, he's got to go sit down and score the game. And she's like, what? And like, no, he has the book. You know, the book where you score. He goes, oh, he's one of those.
Yes, it was so perfect.
A weirdo.
It was awesome. Oh,
I don't
Ruby's
regret-
exact quote. Oh, he's one of those.
Listen,
Three of
Ruby,
us never felt cooler in front of Ruby.
I regret none of it. I'm glad you guys had
She got a big tip. Ruby
Yeah,
got a big
not
tip.
from Evan, clearly.
Well,
But yes.
hold on. In fairness, what did I say as I left that table to go to the
Yeah,
seat?
you tried to give me some crinkled up fives.
I said, Tiki.
Some loose change.
I said, here's a couple of, does this count as a tip? And you're like, no, your money's no good here. I played running back in the NFL. They don't pay you enough around here. And I tried to give the money because I wanted to leave a tip.
I know.
But here's the difference between me and the three of you. And I may be the minority, and I raise my hand and accept that. When I go to a baseball game, I'm going to the baseball game.
I did not miss a pitch.
Yeah.
I actually have a photo of Anthony Volpe taking
Okay.
infield.
Tiki.
I missed nothing
You
except
did?
for the national anthem.
No, let me ask you another question.
Go ahead.
And I hope you didn't hear this through the TV. Who threw out the first pitch?
A somewhat lady. She had long hair.
Yeah, lady.
I don't know who it was.
You're right about that.
Sabrina Ionescu.
Son of a...
I was next to Tiki when it happened.
He didn't even know.
I didn't know who it was.
He was
I gotta
talking
be, I
to
gotta be
Ruby.
fair.
You don't know Sabrina Ionescu?
I know who she is,
Oh,
but I
she's
didn't know
tremendous.
who it was.
Yeah, Star of the Liberty, 3-point specialist. See, I got to watch her throw out the first pitch.
And how was it?
She was fantastic.
Was it a strike?
It was close enough.
Okay, you just don't want to hate on her.
I got no issue with her. I got to hear the starting lineup. I got to get my book ready.
but
We
Evan-
did too with
Evan-
crab legs hanging out of my mouth.
And by the way, Evan, you gave the starting lineup at the end of our show.
Yeah.
So why did you need to sit in stands and hear it?
Because I have to write it down.
Oh, my Lord.
I have to get it in the scorebook.
To quote the great Ruby at the Legends Club.
Yeah.
Oh, he's one of those guys.
He's one of
Weirdo.
those.
I still want to know what that means, Ruby. Like, what did you mean by that, Ruby? Now, I also ditched at the end, and there's a reason why I did. When that game ended, and I'm sorry, I'm calling his name out. I don't care. That SOB Chris Sims. We were randomly sitting next to Chris and his beautiful family.
Yes.
And Chris is a great dude. I really have never had an issue with him. What an obnoxious, douchey Yankee fan. The whole game, he's taunting me. Evan, don't stand up for YMCA. You're one of those. And his meaning was a Met fan.
Oh, he was just consulting with Ruby. That's all.
Clearly. I mean, there are Yankee fans who are classy. There are Yankee fans who are humble. And then there's Chris Sims. He was the definition of the douchey Yankee
But
fan.
he had to be, he had to be that Yankee fan because he told me, because he was with his son Philip, and I guess him and Philip, his son, have gone to a couple of Yankee games.
Right.
And they have not won each of the times that he's been there. So this was 7 in a row.
Wow.
He'd gone 7 in a row with losses, so all L's until last night.
I'm so happy
And
for him.
last night, he's a big Yankee fan.
Yeah.
He broke his streak.
Well, good for
That's
him.
why he was so excited, especially because it was a Subway Series, and especially because there was at least half Met fans.
There were a lot of Met
in
fans.
Yankee Stadium.
We had a good showing. And when that game ends, and it was so meekly the way the Met offense went down, but credit to the Yankees, credit to Rodon, credit to the Yankee bullpen.
Best
Tommy
bullpen in
Kahnle.
baseball, 3.2.
Well, I mean, it hasn't been recently,
Yeah,
but
but
sure.
it is. Statistically, it is. 10 up, 10 down. I mean, what are you going to do?
They were great last night. And I view it as a Met fan as the Met bats went to sleep. Yankee fans should certainly view it that their bullpen was great. That game ends on a ground ball to third base. The way I operate, and Loogie will tell you, before that baseball nestles into the glove of Anthony Rizzo, I want my ass out of that building.
The key is already in the ignition.
I want to be in my Jeep. You and I respect it because, again, you're like Elvis. Everyone wants to take a picture with the
just say
greatest running
hi.
back in the history of the
If
Giants.
somebody says hi, I'm going to say hi.
And that's great. That's why I felt bad saying to Loogie, I'm out of here. I say, say bye to Tiki for me. I cannot be in this stadium a second longer than I have to. The Yankees beat the Mets. So I just want to formally apologize again for ditching you for the third time in our night together.
Yeah, you ditched me three times in one night. Three times in one night. That's pretty impressive, Evan.
I'm a bad guy.
The big takeaway, though, for your Mets, it's one step forward, one step back.
Well, one last thing about this before we move on to things that matter. How about the Mets and Jeff McNeil getting drilled again? A fastball right in the square of the back. He looked pissed off about it. And again, the Mets do nothing. And after the game, Buck Showalter, he's like a school teacher. 2 wrongs don't make a right. He should have just thrown in, but they make an airplane.
But that confirms what we thought, though, about Buck Showalter and this team. He is telling them not to retaliate because I even came on your side in that moment.
You did,
when
yeah.
Jeff McNeil gets hit by Carlos Rodon between the shoulder blades. Not like he glanced his shoulder. Not like he clipped him in the hip a little bit. Not he lost it down and inside and hit him in the ankle. He hit him in the middle of the back. Middle of the back.
No, I know.
That's hard to mess up.
Yes.
It was almost like Aaron Boone, who we had on to start the show, and obviously we replayed it right before the game started. When you ask him, do you tell your pitchers to hit batters? And he wouldn't confirm or deny, just kind of waffled around it, which means he does tell his pitchers to hit batters. It's almost like he told Carlos Rodon to hit Jeff McNeil.
And I
swear that's what I thought.
It looked that way 100%. That's not what happened.
No,
it
it's
obviously
not.
slipped. Rodon apologized to him. But last night, and I'm not saying anyone should care about this, there was a bench-clearing incident in the Astros-Rangers game. And the reason there was is because a guy got hit, I think, after Adolis Garcia hit a grand slam and celebrated too much. Do you think it makes more sense to hit a guy after a celebration or to hit a guy because your guys keep getting hit? Like, I'd argue it would make more sense for the Mets to do something than for a team to be butthurt about a celebration another team has.
I agree with you. I 100% agree with you. And now with the Mets, I know that they are never going to retaliate. They're never going to be a team that takes that initiative back from whoever's inflicting
No, you're
upon
right.
them. They're never going to do it.
You're right. Now let's get to what matters. We have a family issue going on around here. I think Sean Morash is conflicted, and I know my man Tiki is conflicted.
You know I am.
Sean Payton did an interview with USA Today. Now, Sean Payton, of course, a man you know very well.
Very well. Sean Payton made my career. If
about
he
that?
doesn't do what he does in 2000 to change our offense, a lot of misdirection, a lot of DM plays, as we called them, to get people thinking one thing and we're going out the backside the other way, throwing me the ball 80 times out of the backfield. I don't have the career that I have without Sean Payton.
So,
That's
audience,
fact.
I want the audience to think about something. Tiki has just said point blank, Sean Payton made my career. Sean Morash, who you barely know and most people don't like right now, named his daughter after Sean Payton. Her name is Payton. She's a beautiful young girl, and her name came from Sean Payton.
Yeah, because of everything he did for my offense, the way he threw the ball out of the backfield to my running back, the way he changed with the misdirection. It was unbelievable.
Very good.
He just mimicked everything I said.
You just picked up on that? So Sean Payton comes out today and verbally assaults my football team, which we'll get into. But even more than that, your BFF. Because the one thing I've heard from you over the last 3.5 days of actually talking to you is how much you love Nathaniel Hackett, which is fine, by the way. I've got nothing against him. I wanted him to be the offensive coordinator. I fully endorsed it. But you love Nathaniel Hackett. So for those who haven't heard, here's what Sean Payton had to say about the team he now coaches, the Denver Broncos, Nathaniel Hackett, and we'll get into what he said about the Jets. It doesn't happen often where an NFL team or organization gets embarrassed. And that's what happened here. Part of it was their own fault relative to spending so much bleeping time trying to win the offseason. The PR, the pomp and circumstance, marching people around, and all that stuff. They had one of the worst coaching jobs ever. Now, that's Nathaniel Hackett.
Mm-hmm.
That's
who he's talking about.
That's when you say it's one of the worst coaching jobs ever, that is a direct attack at the guy who coached the team last year. And by the way, I always get nuts about this. That's when the president blames the former president for a term and a half. I'm sorry, the economy sucks. It's Hoover's fault. So he rips the daylights out of Nathaniel Hackett. Then he starts focusing on the Jets. We're not doing any of that. The Jets did that this year. You watch, Hard Knocks, all of it. I can see it coming. Remember when Dan Snyder put that dream team together? I was at the Giants in 2000. I was a young coach. I thought, how are we going to compete with them? Deion's there now. This team won 8 games or whatever. So listen, just put the work in. So the Jets suck. They're a dream team, and Nathaniel Hackett is a giant idiot that screwed up everything in Denver.
So
your thoughts?
So my first thought is you have no idea the drama that Russell Wilson caused. So give yourself, Sean Payton, a year to figure out the drama that Sean Payton's going to, or that Russell Wilson is going to bring you. Now, I will fault Nate Hackett. He'll even admit this, for not taking charge of that Russell Wilson situation out in Denver. Because we all remember what happened. He gets in a tiff with Pete Carroll in Seattle because he wants to be the man. He wants to win MVPs. We always talk about how good Russell Wilson is and how he's the best quarterback to have never won an MVP. He's got a Super Bowl championship. The Seattle Seahawks are always viable in the postseason. And 2 years ago, he comes in and says, I want to throw the ball 400 times or 4,000 times this year, whatever the number was, or for 4,000 yards. And they changed their offense. They sucked, right? Russell's been really good when they have good running games and easy throws, maybe 1 or 2 big deep threats, but running the football, play action pass, using your mobility to get out of the pocket. All of a sudden, he wants to be Peyton Manning. He wants to be Aaron Rodgers. He wants to throw for 5,000 yards. And he forces a trade from Seattle to Denver. So he goes to Denver, and I've talked to Nate about this. He says, I could have won with anybody because it's all about the scheme. It's not about the quarterback. You got to have a competent one, but it's really about scheme for me. I can win with a replacement player. I don't need Russell Wilson. So he gets Russell Wilson, and what's the first thing Russ wants? An office. An office away from the team. Now, he would invite players up to that office, but you're not in the locker room. You're not around your teammates. You're not a leader when you're sitting up in an office and saying, hey, if you guys want to leave the brotherhood of the locker room and come hang out with me in my office and watch film, do that. So it got off to a bad start from the very beginning, and he never connected with anybody. And I also know that he had no idea how to handle the offense that was being thrown his way. And so Russell was terrible. Nate was bad. Got some playmaking or timeouts and end of game situations that he didn't do right. But it's hard for me to take what Sean Payton is saying and understand why he would throw so much shade when he doesn't have to. Like, we already know that.
Yeah.
We
all
already
know that was a
bad.
failed experiment.
So what Sean is doing, and he's never really been one to do this. He's always been cocky, right? He's always been one of those guys. I know what I'm calling is right, and if you don't like it, F you, right? This is right. I know it's right. Trust me, it's right. You just got to execute it. But he's never been one to look at someone else and shade them. And so to do that, to lift himself up, to show himself as the savior, it kind of makes me want to say F you, Sean.
Have you texted him that yet?
I have not, because he doesn't write me back anymore.
Really? He ghosted you?
But yeah, this was like about a year ago. I don't know what happened, but whatever it is.
Did you not like that movie they made about him? Maybe that was it.
No, I did like that movie actually.
I don't know. Then.
I don't know either. But throwing shade has no place in this league if that team is on your schedule and you don't know what you're dealing with. That's my problem with what Sean Payton said.
Yeah, I think the reason he did this, the part about Nathaniel Hackett more than the Jet stuff, which we'll get to in a second, I think he did it to bend over backwards to defend Russell Wilson. Like, I think what he said right now was, it ain't Russell's fault, it's the dead man's fault. And Nathaniel Hackett, in terms of the Denver Broncos, is the dead man. He's not there anymore.
Yeah, you're right.
So it's easy.
He can't retaliate. He's not a head coach. He doesn't talk frequently. Doesn't talk every day like Robert Saleh does.
And he needs Russell Wilson to be good to great.
Okay.
If it's going to work in Denver, Russ needs to work. And so I think what he did, and he went way overboard with it, was, I'm just going to exonerate Russell Wilson, and I'm going to destroy, quote, the worst coaching job in the history of the NFL. That's far different than even saying it was a bad coaching job. That was, this is the worst I've ever seen. Clearly, he never watched Adam Gase or Richie Kotite or Joe Judge, which is fine. Maybe ignored that time. But I think that's what it was bending over backwards to try to kind of make love with Russell Wilson in a way.
Yeah, but you don't need to do that. I mean, he's the one that's talking about we're just going to put in the work. But by saying what he's saying, he's actually now shining more of a light on the Denver Broncos. Right now it becomes,
yes, pressure.
All right, Sean, you just said that was the worst coaching job. What are you going to do with an offense that was horrendous a year ago? Yeah, they had a good defense. They were kind of like the Jets in a lot of ways. But what are you now going to do? So all the spotlight's going to be on the 2 or 3 preseason games that they have, the early part of the season, week 5 when they actually play the Jets.
Yeah.
All of that eye is going to be on Sean Payton now and the Denver Broncos and Russell Wilson. So in an ironic way, by saying he's just putting in the work, he's actually trying to grab the spotlight. He
grabbed the spotlight.
It's an odd way to go about trying to be innocuous and under the radar.
There's 2 levels to this. There's attacking Hackett and putting pressure on yourself to make it work, and then there's the Jet aspect, which he brought into it, which I'll get to in a minute. But one other thing about Hackett. When Nathaniel Hackett meets the media, and coordinators don't meet the media as often as head coaches do, and maybe it's with us when we're at Jet Camp, whenever he speaks to the media, and he's naturally asked, hey, Nathaniel, what'd you think of Sean Payton basically saying you pulled off the worst coaching job in the history of the NFL? How should he handle that? Like, what the hell should he say? Should he agree with it and say, you know what? Maybe he's right. What should he say?
No, he can't. I mean, maybe he can be self-deprecating a little bit and just, I don't know, say some, yeah, we were bad, but whatever. Like, you have to be, acknowledging of it, but there was a Steve Wilkes in the NFL.
Oh, dude, if we went down the list of worst coaching jobs in the NFL, and we just stayed in New York, we could beat them.
Exactly.
We don't even have to go outside of New York.
There are very few. I think the Denver Broncos so I think Steve Wilkes, just to use the most recent example of a one-and-done coach, and I think there aren't a ton, but Steve Wilkes is the most recent example. Steve Wilkes had no idea what he was doing. Mm-hmm. Zero idea. He had never spoke to a room larger than the DB room. Right? All of a sudden now he's asked to stand in front of an entire team in Arizona that's in kind of a little bit of a rebuild stage and go be great. So Steve Wilkes was unprepared, probably unqualified for that moment.
By the way, one quick thing about Steve Wilkes that's funny, and you're right about everything you're saying, and then 4 years later, last year, he gets that interim job with Carolina and looked pretty damn good.
That's right, because he had the experience and he knew exactly what he needed to do because he'd done it. But he got fired, and they knew that they wanted to draft Kyler Murray, and so they needed a coach who knew that kind of system that Kyler Murray ran. So they fired Steve Wilkes and then brought in Cliff Kingsbury, who was not much better, even though he did, win more games, and Kyler won Rookie of the Year. And so when I look at Steve Wilkes relative to Nathaniel Hackett, Nate Hackett, when he was up in Denver, it was a bad season offensively. They paid Russell a grip. That dude's making a lot of money for a long time. That relationship was never going to work. Russell Wilson and Nate Hackett.
Right.
You can't fire the guy you just gave $250 million.
Oh, no, Hackett's the odd man out.
And if you did fire that guy you gave $250 million to, it comes smack on your cap and you're screwed. You fire the head coach, that money's just money out of the owner's pocket.
I think everybody agrees, including yourself, as someone that likes Nathaniel Hackett, that, it was good for them to get rid of him, and he didn't do a good job in Denver. Like, I think that's acknowledged by almost everybody.
Yes.
But for a head coach, and not just any head coach, a very successful one, a Hall of Fame one, to come out and bury him the way he did.
It's petty.
Was classless and petty. Now, here's the problem with the Jet angle, and we're going to get to this coming up. Sean Payton said something today that really resonated with me in a scary, scary way. He said something I had thought about this morning before Sean had even said it. And it scares me today, and it's going to scare me tomorrow, and we'll address it coming up, plus your calls.